Some people have heard me say this before, but I'll throw it out to the audience. What is Interledger's total addressable market size? All the money. Nobody wanted to feed it. Yeah, it's all the money, because what we're really talking about with this idea of the Internet of Value is creating a single global payment network that connects literally everyone and processes maybe not 100%, but 90+% of all the money. That's what we're talking about.
The standard of the Internet of Value. Global liquidity to any market, any country, any place, anywhere. Fully exchangeable to any currency, asset, or commodity. Transactions are settled in 4 seconds. XRP is traded 24/7, 365 days a year, everywhere in the world. Removing friction from global trade, removing barriers, removing borders. XRP transfers value anytime and all the time. From you to any place on Earth.
For value exchange, and that's really the mission that we're trying to accomplish. What does that mean for financial institutions? Well, it means that banks remain the custodians, but they can also correspond with each other directly, and they can use this real-time settlement system without putting up capital on both sides, and with getting maximum competition for that exchange of value. It's a fundamental structural change in correspondent banking. The networks, whether that be SWIFT or Visa or Earthport, they can also use those same benefits for their customers. And then for regulators, we actually think this is also a big step forward, because you get so much more transparency. It's so much easier to track sort of degrees of separation tools in real time. We think it actually shortens the time it takes to catch the bad guy.
Open banking platform, I want to jump off a cliff.
Yeah.
When I connect to a Singapore-based crypto native company, and we're not even trading crypto, they're just crypto native, but our systems connect, it's like, angels singing, you know? So right. I think we have to think about just the ease, and it is legacy, you know? It's much harder for Santander to get rid of everything it says and start something totally new. They're carrying so much baggage. So the speed of innovation, there's a reason why Facebook and their millennial employees were able to move so fast, and why WeChat is moving even faster. It's the speed of innovation, it's the lack of legacy. So I think you're going to see a lot of innovation happen there.
I think
big banks, credit card companies, and we have a complete agreement on that. He says
that makes me very leery with the social credit score and everything else.
Right. It's going to get better. So listen to this. So Forex and technology, we didn't previously include this, but a lot of things have happened in the last 12 months. An agreement is included in this deal. Currency foreign exchange will be covered in its entirety in phase 1, which he plans to have agreed in 4 to 5 weeks. Here's the big one, though. The Forex exchange aspect of it is a lot more complete now than it would have been under the other system. Don't forget, a lot of things have happened with currency and foreign exchange that we weren't talking about a year ago. Now, I've called in a couple of other times before this talking about, blockchain and where all this is going.
Yeah.
So,
let me ask you this. The whole SWIFT thing, that kind of brought that to my mind with what you were just reading and where that's going to go.
Right. So what is SWIFT? SWIFT uses... They will be using blockchain technology that is partnered with. They use the Corda Settler, which is part of R3, which is consortium of banks. R3 uses XRP for settlement. R3 it's a rumor that R3 and Ripple was just bought out by Ripple. It's a rumor that hasn't been announced yet. I don't know if it's true, but from what I'm hearing, that's what happened. Now, on top of all of this trade war talk and the going back and forth, you have Ripple meeting with the highest members of the Chinese financial sector, and they're establishing an office in Shanghai.
And check this out. I heard Libra today. I just heard that's going belly up, and everybody's pulling out of it.
World that the dollar is the reserve currency right now. That's changed every 80 or 100 years over the last 6 centuries. It used to be the Portuguese escudo and the Spanish real, and now it's the then the pound, now the dollar. There really isn't another candidate in the fiat currency world. I do think in the long run, and this is decades, cryptocurrencies will become reserve currencies. So whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum, Ripple, whatever, ultimately some of those will be reserve currencies. But governments are very slow to change. And so, I think that's a 10 to 20 year, very slow progression. But that would be the answer. And
at the same time, you have a lot of financial interest coming to this where people want to invest in it. Institutionally, I feel like the institutions are just waiting with their faces in the window, trying to get into this thing and waiting for some of these important issues around custody. I
really wish I could tell you because it's so freaking cool. I'm busting with wanting to tell people what we did.
So here's one about Canada, actually. So one of our
what we did, our
assets they are just
that fintechs are
their faces in the window trying to get into this thing and waiting for some of these important issues around custody. I think there are important accounting issues as well in terms of banks and the way that they count the assets that they hold in their books. Capital requirements are so important to banks, some more than others. If this doesn't get counted as capital because their accountants because GAAP accounting doesn't yet allow for that, that's also, I think, a hindrance to this industry. But I think that those things do get solved sooner rather than later.
And in the early days of Bitcoin, there was a whole group of developers that broke off to create other assets, XRP being one of them, that doesn't use mining, that's cheaper from an energy perspective than Visa, and already scales to 1,500 transactions a second. A lot of these problems have already been solved. The challenge for adoption comes back to policy. The policy uncertainty around some of the assets has limited adoption, particularly here in the US. And I'm speaking from Ripple and XRP because we use that asset because it's a half a cent per payment. It's basically free. It scales and it's efficient. It's 1,500 transactions a second at nearly no energy burn. So we're at a point today where there are real solutions to all of these challenges that already exist. Policy has become the challenge. And we heard on the first panel that around centralization on China, and this is going to be a hard pill for Peter to swallow. But 80% of the mining power for Bitcoin is controlled by 6 mining pools, 5 of which are in China. Today, the policy certainty in the US exists for Bitcoin and Ethereum, despite the fact those are China-controlled platforms. So activity goes to those platforms. What we need to do from a policy perspective in the US is look at the places where there are uncertainty. And one place, I'm speaking directly for me here, is XRP, where it looks like Bitcoin. It's decentralized, it's open source. We have 7% of the validation power on that, rather small in there. Grouping or giving clarity to those ones that are very similar to Bitcoin and Ethereum, that have the same characteristics and should be classified the same way. And then we're creating a level playing field across all the cryptos. I'm not anti-Bitcoin or anti-Ethereum by any means. I think there's a lot of great potential and breakthrough there. But we need to have a level playing field so the market can pick which ones they want to use and not be, as today they are, hindered by regulatory uncertainty.
This is the beginning of the greatest economic cycle this country has had since World War II. And I knew the things that Donald would do, and he hasn't even got started. But this is the eye of the motherfucking storm, the perfect storm. It ain't never going to get any better. Never. This is perfect for the QLA model. If I could have written the a prescription or a formula, I couldn't have written it any better. Low interest rates, money's free, you stupid. Massive chaos. And Donald's going to rip the mother economy apart. And he's going to for practice in a good way. This is it. It ain't never going to get anything better. This is like a multiple orgasm the rest of your life, you fucking slags that are in the audience. This is it.
Sometimes I don't want to hear what Dan has to tell me. But as I wrote in one of my blogs, the old man, he's always right. Because he's telling you what you don't want to hear about yourself, but what you know is true. And that is, you're not stepping yourself up. You're not stepping your game up. And you get caught up in fear. As Dan says, false expectations appear in reality.